What is up, everybody? Looks like we are live. Of course, it's always a couple minutes, or I don't know, it's probably like 30 seconds or so behind. Always throws me off when I first go live. But what's up? Welcome to the Underground Crypto Deep Dive Show. Today, talking about layer 2s. We talked about layer 0 not that long ago, and we've talked about all kinds of things. Yesterday's stream was phenomenal, in my opinion. I very much agreed it, but I pretty much very much enjoyed it. I don't know why I said agreed it. What does that even mean? All right, moving on. We're on Crypto Bubbles, and we'll give a moment for people to show up here. MYX still pumping. 52% it says. It's pumped up to $18.14. Right now it's at $17.51 with a $3.3 billion market cap. We talked about this thing yesterday. I think it was at like 2 billion something yesterday. So very interesting. Where will it stop? How much money is there to dump into it? I would definitely say personally it feels kind of like the outlier. You know, most coins, once they get that big, they don't just continue to pump. So there's a reason why they're pumping. Oh, look, Lindsay Linz is in here. Says, hey there, Underground. Glad I'm here again. Yeah, we missed you the last couple of days. I'm glad you can make it. No obligation or anything. I appreciate any time you can show up. Very much. And that goes for anybody. Yesterday, Lindsay, we had a really good stream, and a lot of people showed up and were in the comments. It was really nice. So we're looking at Crypto Bubbles. Let's go to the hour. So you can see the hour's a little red. I thought it was really interesting. I'm sure Lindsay understands this because we were over on Crypto Lifer's channel in the morning, and then again for the, rate cut. And with Bitcoin pulling back, the altcoins didn't really seem to mind very much. It seems like in the last hour they've kind of pulled down a little bit, but I saw a lot of things pumping today. Didn't really care what Bitcoin was doing. I thought that was really interesting. And we'll go to the week real quick. Pump.fun, big winner. Doge 15%. Saros, Mantle, Memecore, IMX, Aerodrome, Monero, Flare Network. And here's the one thing we talk about: a crypto IQ all the time. There's tickers here. Some of them are really obvious, like ETH or HEX, but some of them you might not really know what they are. Can you identify most of these off of their ticker or even just off of their logo? So Hopium Days says, just caught up on yesterday's stream. Been lurking since Lifer gave you a shout out. Like your vibes and deep dives. Thank you very much, Hopium. I appreciate you coming over. I love the Lifer community, so the more Lifers that come over, that just gets me excited to keep deep diving and researching, and you never know what we're going to find. And again, I can't get over how much fun yesterday's stream was. We could barely talk about the topic that we were talking about, launch pads, because people just had so many things they wanted to go over and look at, and I'm here for that. I got to put some kind of category to the show. In case there's nothing going on, I have to have something to talk about, right? Fear and Greed Index that Lifer always uses. I even double checked with him that this is the one that he always uses. It's sitting at about 53. It's neutral. For just a moment we touched in the green. It does tell you the last couple of days and stuff, but we touched the greed for like a day, and then it's pulled back into this neutral zone. It's neutral, right? It's not really good nor bad. It's just that middle ground. And the reason why we're pulling that up is because I want to compare it every day to Crypto Rank, because we're going to start using Crypto Rank more and more. Oh, Nilo is back. Hopefully I said that right. I came from the Lifer community. That's how I found out about your channel. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, Sam's the man for shouting me out. I greatly appreciated. Obviously, I never asked him to do that or anything like that. I'll always be transparent. He's just a good dude like that. So yes, the Fear and Greed Index does seem to be very much the same on Crypto Rank. We've been doing this for probably about a week now, and it's been checking out because there's not a lot, other information on this website. So if it's the same on Crypto Rank every day, we just won't bother to pull up this other one. And so we have our list of layer 2s ready to go. Let's go ahead and look at what Bitcoin's doing. $116,387 for Bitcoin. If you've been following, if you're not a trader, maybe you don't follow the market every day. those from the Lifer channel, we definitely know what Bitcoin's doing on a daily basis. So you understand where it sits. It doesn't need a whole lot of explanation, right? We did have a little bit of pullback today, but it seemed to bottom out, off of that 1 hour 200 moving average. And since then, we've been holding, at least not going under that. Anyways, Ethereum at 4,594. Let's call it 4,600. I love to see it above 4,000. XRP, I love to see that above $3. You kind of just develop like psychological, levels of your own for where we are in the market. Who here believes that we are going to get, the blow off top in the next couple of months? How many people here are, I don't want to say bought into like it's a bad thing or something, because I'm bought into the 4-year Bitcoin cycle. I don't think it's impossible for us to have super cycles and stuff, and will probably happen at some point in the future. But are we there yet? One thing that I'm weary of from the last cycle is everybody talked about super cycles and stuff until we were, halfway through the drawdown of the bear market, and everybody really realized, like, no, we're actually in the bear market. This is not a pullback. And some of us, like me, didn't sell as much as they would like. That's for sure. Anyways, BNB, $990, almost $1,000. Pretty sure, that's got to be real close, if not the all-time high for BNB. BNB doing its thing. Binance Smart Chain, one of my favorite chains to interact with. It's an old one, but a good one. Solana, $244. Dogecoin 28. So Dogecoin got a little bit of a pump today. Let's see, in the last 24 hours, 4.6%. I've told the story several times of how I got into crypto, very much about Dogecoin. I still hold some Dogecoin for sure. So I love to see that it's pumping. Not that I think it's the most utility driven coin, that's for sure. Cardano, 91 cents. Can it get above $1 and stay there? That's what I think all the Cardano people want to see. Chainlink, $24, Hyperliquid, $57.80, and SWI, $3.78. And we'll end it on Avalanche at $31.80, and Avalanche is up 8% in the last 7 days. And that's kind of our, just keeping the pulse of the market, right? Because we go over that every day. Bufflink back again. Said, I hit the like button, have you? Shout out. I love that kind of interaction, reminding people to press that like button. And it's nice because it's not me asking you to constantly hit the like button, because that would probably be annoying if I said that constantly. Okay, I probably will say it constantly. So we have this. This is what's trending, by the way. And we're going to stack it up against Crypto Rank, and they're trending. I like Crypto Rank. So from doing this for a few days now, I really do like Crypto Rank as a website. I just don't know how to navigate it as well as I do CoinGecko. So hopefully in my own time, I will continue to raise my own crypto IQ, or my CryptoRank.io IQ, and I'll be able to better navigate it and not have to bounce back and forth so much. So Sourced and Sold says, hey, glad I caught the stream tonight. Bufflink, what's your favorite L2 for maximum gains in the next 120 days this cycle? Okay, well, that is a question I'm just going to set on the back burner for just a moment. Stick around if you kind of want to hear my answer to that one. We will be getting to that very shortly. Crypto IQ. What are layer 2s? I'm sure you've heard the term layer 1s, layer 2s, layer 0 even we did a whole stream on. But what does it mean? What is the point of them? Like we talked about launch pads yesterday. There's kind of like a short summary of everything that we go over. What's the real takeaway? Launch pads yesterday, the real takeaway was be like a VC, get in early, maybe hold some of the launch pad in the community or the ecosystem that you really like. Maybe you like SWI blockchain and you really believe in it, or maybe it's Base. Get into some of those launch pads. That's what I would do. I'm not actually telling you to do that. And then I would stake some of the thing and see if I could get early access to buying in, just like a VC. For a long time in regular traditional finance, the people who really made the money were the early investors. Some of them were venture capitalists. I mean, it's kind of a term for early investor, but in America anyway, to be an accredited investor, you have to have, the title or $1 million in your bank account. And so a lot of Americans are not able to get in at dirt low cheap prices. That's how the rich stay rich. So crypto kind of flips that on its head. Very deep in, right? Decentralized infrastructure and changing some of the monopolies and ways things have always been. It's flipping it on its head, and now you can get in. And that's really was the takeaway from Launchpads and why I went over Launchpads. But I will answer your question in just a minute. So I bought Arbitrum. Is that good? Well, I can't tell you what to do with your crypto or your money because I'm not a financial advisor. But I will talk about Arbitrum in a little bit. So let's get through some of these things real quick because I just want to scan. If you've been coming to the stream, we've talked about Lena, we've talked about Somnia, we've talked about Avantis. Avantis is one that keeps getting shouted out a lot over on Lifer's stream. And so we got MYX Finance, of course, that thing up another 52% today. Boundless, we've talked about Boundless. And if there's anything here that you see that you don't know anything about, feel free to throw it and we'll go over it. Look, Arbitrum's there. And I want to compare these to what's going on CoinGecko because we did use CoinGecko for like a really long time. So all the same things over here. Forte, we looked at that yesterday. And we'll probably come back to this. I don't want you to feel like I'm not going to look at a lot of these. But I don't want to get, I at least want to get to the topic of the day. Because yesterday people were not super chatting. I don't know why I said that. I don't have super chats yet. We're on our way to that kind of thing. But people were asking for so many different things. We didn't talk as much about the topic of the day, which I love. That is really what I was hoping for. The community would start growing and we would start talking about stuff. Anyways, let me move on. Hyperliquid is Arbitrum is not on the trending coins for CoinGecko. So we got Lena, Pump.Fun, this Camino, KMNO. Let's take a look at that because I think we looked at it the other day, but I don't remember what it is. So it is DeFi. It is on the Binance Alpha Spotlight. We were looking at so many things yesterday that had this Binance Alpha Spotlight tag. Lending and borrowing protocol. So, of course, DeFi, decentralized finance. We'll hop over to the website for just a second. It is a Solana ecosystem, Solana contract. And if it's about borrowing and lending, a lot of times it's not going to be, the funnest looking website. Like, there's not going to be a whole bunch of impressive stuff to read about the tech and all of that stuff. A lot of times it's just like, hey, we provide liquidity, and you can stake over here and get some kind of rewards and help us provide more liquidity. And let me know, guys, how the sound is as far as the music that plays in the background. Looks like it's lagging a little bit. My person in the corner there, the webcam, is he lagging a lot? Or is he smooth on your side? I can never really tell. So Victor Lipa says, I'm not day trading or anything. I will sell by 2026 for sure. Okay, so Victor, you're a fan of the 4-year Bitcoin cycle. Is that what you're saying? Let me know if that's what you're saying. And put like a 1 in the chat if you hold any layer 2s. Or if you know what layer 2 are. Put a 3 in the chat if you don't really know what a layer 2 is. Like maybe you've heard the term, but you don't actually know what it is. And we'll move on from this. This is a borrow and lending protocol. Not the most exciting thing to look at. So Lindsay says you're smooth. Okay, good. Glad to know that. I really appreciate the feedback, guys. So Victor says, I use some ETH profits up 50% and Sol profits up 30% to reallocate in Arbitrum. Don't worry, Victor. I won't forget about you. I will definitely talk about Arbitrum. And Lindsay says, I'm interested in learning your thoughts on Link. I hold it, but honestly, it didn't. It says I didn't, but I think you mean it didn't do much. Oh, I didn't do much research on it. See, I should have just read the sentence. Shame on me. It's been performing, but I'd like to learn more about it. So yeah, Chainlink is an oracle. Oracles feed data. That's what I know about it off the top of my head. And data is extremely important. There are several other oracles. I'll probably do a stream on oracles because it is a really important thing, especially in the age of AI. I think with AI, a lot of people don't realize how many other things infrastructure-wise need to be there deep in order to make AI really work in a decentralized blockchain kind of way. So Victor also says not a lot of money at all, like less than 2% net worth. Cool. And Lindsay says 3. Okay. Well, we're going to get into all of those different things and see if there's just anything I really. Drift is another one. Let's take a look at Drift Protocol real quick, and then we will look at Arbitrum, and then we'll go to our layer 2 stuff where I will answer the question. I think it was Buff. Yeah. Who asked me about Arbitrum? Oh, it's Victor. Okay. Got to keep it straight. And definitely like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification. The Discord link should be in the description. It should work. It worked yesterday. Hopefully they didn't change it on me. Let me get my drink ready so I can talk at a million miles an hour. And Lindsay, you know, we all kind of do that. We all kind of bought stuff and didn't do our due diligence. And that's really what the mission of this show. Of course, I say raise your crypto IQ, but it also implies like knowing what you hold and why you hold it. Because it really comes to your conviction when the time hits where it's hard to hold. If you don't know why you bought it, it might be hard to hold on to it, and then you might sell it and watch it go, and then you'd be upset. So $305.6 million in Drift's market cap. It has a Solana contract, DeFi, so it's decentralized finance derivatives. Okay. So we looked a lot yesterday, and I even put it in the Discord. A little breakdown. We were looking at MYX, you know, which is a perpetual derivatives product or exchange, decentralized exchange. And we were comparing a bunch of other projects that people were bringing up in the chat that are very similar. So if you missed yesterday's stream and you're interested in that kind of thing at all, I would go look in the Discord. So let's click on, you know, the website here. And yeah, so Drift is another one. How long has Drift been about? Because I don't know if Watchman will pop in here. He was the one who was bringing up a lot of that information, and he's come in several times, so I don't doubt that he's going to show up at some point. But this might be a better coin. A lot of the coins we were looking at were way older, you know, and so yeah. Okay, so May 16, 2024. I do still have my notes, so I'm going to go ahead and throw that one in there. Of course, I already flipped the page. So let's add Drift. Sorry for the 2 seconds it takes to jot this down. And what did we say? CoinGecko. I'm just always using CoinGecko. I don't know if it's exactly when the project launched, but it's got to be close enough, right? And market cap 305.6 million. And I will update that little chart that I started making over in Discord. Anyways, I really like that this is very similar to that. I mean, Drift is pumping. The one thing that we looked at yesterday, is the mic not working? Hello? No, Bufflink, I think that's... Somebody comment to Bufflink if he can't hear me. The mic seems to be working just fine on my end. I have it on my phone so I can pull it up and check the mic every once in a while because we have had issues with it in the past. But if somebody could just drop a comment to Bufflink and let him know he might need to refresh his YouTube. Thank you, Lindsay. So anyways, one thing that we did yesterday is we pulled up all of these different projects. Again, just not to be repetitive, I put a list of them in the Discord that are very much in the same vein. And we pulled them up and we actually looked at this part, the actual, you know, product that you would use. And I would say this looks good. It looks just as good as MYX. A lot of these other projects that we looked at didn't look as smooth and nice as this in MYX does. So if there is a coin that's probably going to be, I don't know, able to stack up against what MYX is, it looks like it's going to be this Drift. That's just my gut feeling. All right, now we're going to kind of move on to layer 2s. First, I'm going to show you some layer 2s. Then we're going to do a little bit of raising the crypto IQ, and we're going to talk about some, you know, facts about layer 2s. That's where really a lot of the sauce is. It might seem like the little bit more dry part of the show, but that's really where the bulk of the information is. So right off the bat, Mantle, and I'm just going to read these. We're not going to click on them. Arbitrum is a layer 2. So for Victor, we will have plenty of time to talk about Arbitrum. Pole, and I didn't forget about Link. Immutable X, Optimism, Stacks. Stacks would be on Bitcoin, I'm pretty sure. StarkNet, which I've seen trending a lot. zkSync, Lena, which is a newer project but has been doing phenomenal. I think Lifer said today he's pretty sure Lena could do a 10x. And then we're just going off of our gut intuition. Move, Nervos, Zora, Prom, Astar, Merlin Chain, if you know what Merlin Chain is, Open Ledger, CeeLo, Alt Layer, Cody, Loopring, Blast, Mentis. I mean, how many of these do you really recognize? How many do you not recognize? And Victor said, yeah, I'm 4-year cycle thinker for sure, but also realize this time could be different. When it comes to that, Victor, if you're still here, I have to agree with you. I'm going to go with the 4-year. I just decided one day, I mean, not yesterday, but a while ago, probably the end of last cycle, that I'm going to just go with the 4-year cycle until it does something different. I might, like when you're trading, you know how you leave a runner, sometimes you'll sell like 90% of the position and leave 10% in case it keeps running. It's basically what I'm going to do. And I'm going to stair-step in, or I stair-stepped in all of my positions, right? I bought over time slowly. So I'm going to stair-step out of my positions too. I'm not just going to pick one day where we're really up and sell everything. I'm going to slowly sell things as I go, you know, probably over the course of a couple of weeks. But I'm not going to believe it's going to be different this time until they show me that. And I'll leave a little bit, you know, of a runner. And if it keeps going, it keeps going. But I'm not going to miss the opportunity to change my life like I did last cycle. Anyways, we could read every single one of these, but we'll be coming back to this. All right, so let's hop over here. Lindsay says, this is what I needed to hear. Awesome. And if you have any other questions, Lindsay, just drop them in because I can get a little more specific on some of that stuff. I tried to be just a little general about what I was talking about there. So layer 2 solutions are and how they work. What layer solutions? Okay, that makes more sense. Anyways, layer 2 solutions are protocols built on top of layer 1 blockchains like Ethereum. So layer 1 is like Ethereum, you know, it is the main smart contract platform. And then you have layer 2s built on top of it. Think Polygon, which used to be Matic. And it's in the next line really explains what Matic does. They process transactions off of the main chain, making them faster and cheaper. So what is the big elephant in the room when it comes to Ethereum? It would be the fees per transaction. And if you've been around in crypto for a while, and if you deal with DeFi and you don't just hold coins alone, you would know that Ethereum transaction fees can be ridiculous, and they change with the fluctuation of the market. So then when Polygon came out and you could use it instead, I mean, you went from having to pay $10, $15, $20 for a transaction to like 50 cents, 25 cents or less. Made a big difference. And I think that's why Binance Smart Chain really crushed them for the longest time, because you could go over there and spend, you know, 5-6 cents on a transaction and you could play games and do stuff because you could afford to do it. So the results are then sent back to the layer 1. So they process them off chain. Then they come back to the layer 1 for a final security and settlement. So there's a little bit of security, things like zero knowledge rollups and stuff like that. And then it's all settled. And the main layer 1 is then updated as if everything had happened on that layer 1. Lindsay Lynn says, I've been thinking the same thing. All right. Common layer 2 methods include optimistic rollups, zero knowledge rollups, side chains, and state channels. So here's something I want to just take a second to explain. You're going to see things like ZK rollups, which means zero knowledge, optimistic rollups. You're going to hear all of these different things, and they might be a little bit intimidating because unless you know what they are or what the point of them is, you're not going to really understand what is being said to you. Or if you're reading a website on a coin that you wish to speculate on, you might just not really understand what they're saying to you. Let me hit this drink real quick. Good old electrolytes. All right. So when information comes to the blockchain, it needs to be verified in some way because the blockchain can't just update the ledger of transactions and stuff for everything that's shot at it, because obviously bad players in the space could make fake transactions. Like they could make a fake transaction that says, you know, their wallet just got 500 Ethereum, in it. And if the chain didn't verify that or anything, it would just update it, and they would have 500 Ethereum. Then they could sell it long before the chain ever really figured out that they didn't really have that money. So there has to be some kind of security. So these roll-ups and stuff are both security, but they're also manners of making congestion. When too many transactions come in at one time and there's not enough validator processing and stuff, it really jams things up. That's why Ethereum fee goes up so much per transaction. So these roll-ups kind of roll everything up together. They add a layer of security, and then it's all settled on the main chain. So zero knowledge is about taking the transactions that come in, and they have a method of verifying the information without actually knowing the information. Now, how exactly they do that, I don't know. But that's why it's called zero knowledge, because it is much more privacy based. Optimistic roll-ups, kind of the opposite. They're mostly rolling things up with very little verification in an optimistic manner. Like, they're optimistic that the transactions they're receiving are legitimate. Used to hear a lot more about optimistic roll-ups, not so much anymore. Seems like everybody's pretty much moved to the idea of zero knowledge roll-ups. Optimistic roll-up, we're just optimistic that the transactions that are being sent into the ledger of whatever blockchain are on the up and up. Probably not the best idea to just trust people. And yes, there is more to those things that I could break down, but we don't want to make it too complicated, right? So Victor says, yeah, bro, I'm the same. I'm going to sell out in bunches. Sorry, I'm 2 minutes behind the stream. Don't be sorry, Victor. We love you either way. We're just glad you're here. And that goes to anybody who's on the stream. I'm just glad you're here. So Lindsay says, remember to show your appreciation to Mr. Underground. Hey, I appreciate you saying that. Anyway, so why scaling is critical for Ethereum and Web3 adoption. Ethereum is secure, but often, I was going to say also congested. That would have been true too. But it's often congested, leading to high gas feeds and slow speed. I promise I didn't read this in advance. That's just, the problems that have been plaguing Ethereum for forever. Without scaling, everyday users cannot afford to use DeFi, NFTs, and Web3 apps. I mean, for a long time, even in this last bear market, people really felt like Ethereum was dead to the average retail. I mean, we all knew institutions were going to use it because they could afford to use it. Institutions don't care if they have to pay $100 or $1,000 to move a bunch of money around. They don't care about that. They're used to it from the traditional finance system. It's just everyday work. It's probably cheaper, honestly. But to the everyday retail, especially those who are in DeFi, NFTs, and Web3 on things like Binance Smart Chain, which was the most popular one aside Ethereum for the longest time, you go from paying 5 cents to $10, it makes a big difference. Layer 2 solutions allow Ethereum to handle thousands of transactions per second at much lower costs. This scalability is necessary for mainstream adoption blockchain technology. So before we talk about the top layer 2 projects, what's the big takeaway here, right? The big takeaway is layer 2s are optimizing a layer 1. They make it better. They make it so more transactions can go through without getting congested and jacking up the prices. They use Ethereum as the example, but not all layer 2s are on Ethereum. Ethereum just really brought about layer 2s because it had such a problem that they couldn't seem to figure out how to fix. And honestly, I don't know that they still have really fixed it on the actual Ethereum. I mean, you could say it's fixed because you could just go use a layer 2 project. So layer 2 projects very much born out of necessity. So, and each layer 2 project is going to be a little different as far as how much money they take in fees for running transactions and how much that goes back into the market cap and if they're worth holding, as an investment. That's kind of the next leg of what we're going to try to answer here. So it says Arbitrum, the leading optimistic rollup widely used in DeFi. So for Victor, who was asking about Arbitrum, there you go. It is an optimistic rollup. We talked about optimistic rollups, widely used in DeFi because I think that idea had been around a lot longer. You have literally Optimism, which is a different layer 2 project. Also optimistic rollup focused on developer-friendly tools and governance. Then you have zkSync, which to me really felt like Zero Knowledge was like the next generation after Optimistic. So zero knowledge rollups designed for fast, secure, and cheap transaction. StarkNet, ZK rollup using Stark. Stark is a different method of doing ZK rollup proofs for scalability and stronger security. So this Stark really added scalability and security. Base, which is a layer 2 built by Coinbase, helping onboard millions of users into Web3. So we're going to pause on that for just a second because you hear about Base blockchain. You hear about Base blockchain a lot. But it's not really its own blockchain. It's actually a layer 2 built on Ethereum. I think a lot of people don't really know that because they'll say, you know, Coinbase has its own blockchain. Well, not really. They're a layer 2 on an Ethereum. They use Ethereum as the basis of their blockchain, which is Base. Not that it matters a ton, you know, Ethereum has great security. And we will come back to this in just a minute. I like to break up kind of the flow of information there. And let's check the chat. All right, looks like we're caught up on everything. Bufflink, are you still here? You said the mic was muted and then people kind of told you to refresh the screen, and I don't know if you ever figured it out. I hate to lose people. So Bufflink, throw us a something in the comment if you're still here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about Link for a minute for Lindsay because she's been very great in the chat and also super loyal coming to the streams, and I really appreciate it. So let's talk about Link, even though it's a little bit off topic, but I don't really mind. Don't take that the wrong way. I don't really mind that it's off topic. Really, the idea of the channel, aside from Crypto IQ, was a community of people who really come together, care about crypto, care about researching and deep diving, and you coming in is really just making that a reality. So, first of all, Chainlink number 13 by market cap. Its max chart says that it's been around since November 8th, 2017. That doesn't surprise me. It has been around for a really long time. And it's at $23.94. Lindsay, when did you buy Chainlink? Was it real recent? Have you held this thing for quite some time? I'm sure you probably don't remember exactly what date or anything like that, but around like what price range did you get in? If you don't mind telling us. You're not obligated to tell us. So market cap, $16.2 billion in market cap. So we were talking about MYX and a couple other things the other day. In order for your money that you put into this, if you bought some right now today, to double, you would need to double the amount of money in the market cap. Hey, Watchman's here. Watchman, we were talking about a project because you kept asking about projects that are like MYX. We found another one that's probably the better out of all of them, out of all the projects we looked at yesterday, and that would be Drift, and it is trending today. I can pull it back up for you in a moment if you'd like me to. So Lindsay says within the last 6 months, let me check. No, it's okay. 1 second. Okay, so she's going to come back with that information. We have Ethereum ecosystem, Ethereum blockchain, but it is super interoperable. And again, Link is an oracle, and I will do a stream on oracles so that we can really raise the crypto IQ about oracles. It has use case absolutely all day long. So we have Mode, Mint, Moonbeam, Hydration, Moon River, Merlin chain, and I did not realize how many are on here. It's basically like every chain because this thing is responsible for feeding data. So what do you think any project in crypto pretty much needs? So we're not going to read every single chain there because that's a little ridiculous, but just know it is crazy interoperable. It is like the definition of interoperability, which is working together with other chains. Yeah. And again, Watchmen, that was Drift if you didn't catch it. All right, so let's go to their website. And Chainlink's such a huge project that their website might be a little overly professional, but maybe it'll cut straight to the point too. So powering the tokenized finance economy, Chainlink is the industry standard, absolutely true, Oracle platform bringing the capital markets on-chain and powering the majority of decentralized finance. There you go. So this thing is infrastructure and absolutely critical for most DeFi, whether it's, financial or something else, AI agents, AI platforms, AI technology on blockchain, data. AI is really only as good as the feed of data that it has in real time. Now, it can look at the internet for other stuff, but that's already happened, that it's trained in, and its large language models and stuff. But if new things happen, well, who's going to get that new information to it in a very quick live manner? And I'm not going to go crazy on that because I think that really answers what it is. I want to see what categories they give it. So infrastructure, Internet of Things, decentralized finance, Oracle, real world assets. That's one thing I haven't said yet. Really what is, in my opinion, I think Link has been pumping so much off of lately because, again, this project's been around since 2017. It's had its ups and downs, but lately it's been on a little bit of a tear. And it's because they're going to be very much responsible. We talked about AI and stuff, data feeding. Real world assets is another application that is going to make real world assets, work and operate. And I see you chatted, Lindsay. I'm going to get to that in 1 second. So made in USA. That's awesome. Chain abstraction. I don't see that title or category very often. And then if you go down to markets, you could pretty much buy this thing anywhere. I mean, once you can buy it on Coinbase, why would you really go buy it anywhere else? I'm willing to bet, Lindsay, you bought it on Coinbase. Am I right? Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just once a coin's made it to Coinbase, there's no point in to go chase it anywhere else. So Lindsay says she got in at $13.98 in April 2025. So it looks like to double your money, you'd need to be at 14 calls. So you need to be at about $28, and we're pushing 24. You almost have a nice double up here. When it comes to those type of things, obviously I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money, but when I think about investing, you kind of have to know who you are. It's a lot like trading. Like if you open a trade and you tell yourself, I see something on the day chart and I'm going to hold this trade and I'm probably going to hold it for 3, 4, 5 days, maybe a week or two. And then it goes up, 10% on 10x leverage or something. You're up 20, 30, 25% or whatever, and you sell it. Well, you didn't really follow your plan. You didn't really have a clear idea what you were doing, or maybe you started with it, but you didn't stick to it. So say I had $100,000, right? And that was my capital that I was going to put into the market. I wouldn't use a large percentage of that in high risk stuff. I would use most of it in low to medium, risk stuff so that I'm not jeopardizing large amounts of my money because the, anywhere from 10 to 20% that's left over, take that, say we did 80% in super low risk stuff like Chainlink, like Ethereum, like Bitcoin, stuff is not going to disappear overnight, XRP, but you think is going to perform well. Well, then you have another 20% to play with. Maybe you take 12, 15% of that and you put in medium risk stuff, something like Deep Book or something like that. And then you have like a little 5%, 1 to 5% to play with the high risk stuff. And I think that's good structure. And that's just a basic structure, right? You can mess with those numbers any which way that you wanted to. So it just depends on, I guess, how you're holding Chainlink and what your plan is for it. So Lindsay says, that's right. I didn't have a plan. And now I'm trying to write the narrative backwards. And that just doesn't work. Just being honest. Well, on Underground Crypto, we really value transparency. Always try to be as absolutely transparent as I can. And also, I don't think I hold any Chainlink, but I might have a tiny bit of it somewhere. I have way too many wallets to even know. But we all do that, Lindsay. We all buy stuff and have it in our portfolios. And we didn't really have a plan. Maybe it was pumping. There's plenty of things I bought that some of them underwater, some of them not, that I really didn't know why I was buying it. Filecoin. Filecoin's a good one. I mean, I did know that it was storage, But I didn't really do my research. I didn't know who the competitors to Filecoin was. I didn't know if there was newer, much better projects. I just knew that it went to a really high at one point, and it was much lower than that. And you start doing the thinking of like, oh, well, if it could even get back to 75% of where it went before, I'll have this much money, or I'll made this many X's. But that's not really, it's a good place to start when you're thinking about it, but that's not really where you want to be, because how many tokens were released between when it hit that high and now? Because it's going to be a huge impact on how much money needs to come into the market cap. Maybe you only needed $100 billion to come in to get back to that, but now they've flooded it with release of coins, and now you need like $500 billion to get back to that market cap. Big difference. And that is what we call tokenomics. And I try to go over it. It's why we're reading all these numbers, why I tell you the market cap. We talk about max supply and stuff like that. All right, so let's get into layer 2s. First one, Mantle. And if anybody has anything they'd really like me to go over, feel free to throw it in the chat. I'm surprised I haven't seen Reliable J yet. He could just be hiding out and not commenting. Not that I expect him to be at every stream, but he's been super consistent. He is very reliable. I guess that's why they call him Reliable J, right? So Mantle. Mantle is a project, let's go back to Crypto Bubbles, is MNT, and it's been pumping. That's on the week. Let's go to the day. Down 3%, but I keep seeing it on Crypto Bubbles that we start the stream with. So Mantle at $1.68. Max chart says Mantle came out like July 16th, 2023. It's got $5.4 billion in its market cap, so it is not a small coin, number 40 by market cap. Well, he is reliable. He is very reliable. Great guy, too. I actually had the luxury of meeting him in person when we had dinner with Lifer for his 100K celebration, and it was really awesome to meet him because he doesn't live down here with us. So the fact that he hopped on he's so reliable. He hopped on a plane and flew to where we are just to have dinner with the Lifer. That shows some dedication, and he did it on last minute notice as well. So Ethereum contract, also a Mantle contract. We're talking about layer 2, so you're not going to see these as their own contract, right? And then they got a website. We'll check that out. It's a smart contract platform. It's a layer 2. We knew that. Dragonfly Capital portfolio, a bunch of these GMCI indexes, World Liberty Finance portfolio. And that's pretty much the most categories and stuff we're going to get out of it. All right. Text messages coming in. Can't get distracted. Blockchain for banking. Bringing crypto to your everyday. So Mantle's vision, and I love when a website puts their vision or what the heck they are like right at the very beginning of the website. Can't believe that is not more done across all the different websites that we look at. A world where finance is free, efficient, and accessible, powered by tokenized technology and open to all. It's a great vision, something that here in America, if you're in America watching this, that we probably don't think about a lot is how many people are unbanked in the world. A lot of times you hear about Africa, but I'm sure that they're not the only unbanked people around the world. I'm sure there's plenty of people in other places like India who are very much unbanked. So innovation pillars, you have the Mantle Network, you have METH or METH protocol. I don't know if we would have gone with that branding, but it's ETH with the M for Mantle in front of it, but that's kind of hilarious. Function, Mantle Index 4, and Mantle X. So let's go over what that is. Obviously, Mantle Network. We've talked about that enough. We don't need to say that. But what is METH protocol? It's a liquid ETH staking and restaking protocol that maximizes yields, widely accepted as collateral in centralized exchanges in DeFi apps and money markets. So one thing that I've seen more and more is this restaking, the idea of restaking. So at some point we'll probably dive into that as well. So Function, a decentralized Bitcoin solution that bridges BTC into Web3 economies, therefore unlocking new financial opportunities. So bringing money over from Bitcoin. Mantle Index 4, an institutional grade yield bearing product that offers diversified exposure to a basket of top crypto assets. So this is very much like, a basket of all kinds of different products, that I guess institutions would be interested in getting into, kind of like your Index 500 kind of thing, right, Lindsay? Who saw like meth or METH and was like, yes, this is the branding that we need to do. We can't change this in any other way. I mean, come on. Still hilarious though. So is a borderless smart money app that makes it easy to spend and off ramp in one place. Very useful type stuff when you hit the point where you need to do that. We hit the top of the market, you sell. Now you've got wallets all over the place, depending on how crazy you are in DeFi, with money, a bunch of USDT, a bunch of USDC, and now you need to get it into your bank account. Now, not a financial advisor, but I would be very weary of dumping large amounts of money transactions into your average bank, like say Bank of America, for example. They might not like crypto transactions. They can lock your account. They can give you one heck of a hassle. I need to, there's a bank that I remember Crypto Lifer talking about one time that he said never gave him any issues. It's like an online bank, right? There's no real physical locations, but he said they gave him no problem, super large transactions in crypto from Coinbase and other places. So have that set up, and I'm speaking to myself right now. I'm preaching to myself. Have that set up before you take all your profits so that you don't mess up your regular bank account, send in $100,000 or a bunch of money to it, because they're going to say like, hey, you don't usually get $50,000 transactions into your bank account. What's going on? And they might even look into you. And that's a very, annoying process to be audited. Mantle X, pioneering the future of decentralized systems by harnessing artificial intelligence. So Mantle X is very much their play on artificial intelligence. I think we've really covered everything we need to do with Mantle here, and we will move on. Check out the chat. Lindsay says Breaking Bad. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I thought of too. So what other layer 2s do we got here? So these are in order of market cap. So this is going to be the largest market cap of all of them. So we jump right from 5.4 billion to 2.7 billion. Arbitrum. And if Victor's still around, yeah, Nilo says don't use Bank of America. Could not agree with you more. I don't know. Never really had a Bank of America account, actually, that I can remember. But I have used Wells Fargo like way back in the day when I was like 15 or something like that. But I, have another business, and people would write me checks, after I completed my jobs. And a couple of times they were, Bank of America checks. So I was like, I'll just pop in there and cash them. What a nightmare. I mean, I might as well have been a criminal who stole money from people, is how they treat you. It's crazy. They're like, well, why don't you take this to your bank? I'm like, because my bank is far away and you're literally 1 minute from the job. And this person banks with you. Crazy. I'm like, here's her phone number. Call them. And they refuse to. It's like, man, this is crazy. Anyways, Arbitrum. Let's keep it crypto, right? Even though it applies. So $2.7 billion in its market cap. Max chart says March 22nd, 2023. So Arbitrum has been around for a while. It's got an Arbitrum Nova contract, which I don't know how is Arbitrum Nova different from regular Arbitrum? I don't know. And then of course an Ethereum contract. So is Arbitrum? Yeah, Arbitrum is a layer 2 of Ethereum, I'm pretty sure. My only real interaction with Arbitrum, actually I think I own a tiny bit of it, but they were affiliated with Mobox, which if you watch our GameFi stream, Mobox is a project I've been messing around with for a long time. It's in the gaming DeFi sector, but they had a whole thing where they launched this whole little dragon game on Arbitrum. And it was very confusing trying to use Arbitrum to figure out how to buy the NFTs. So you have layer 2 roll-ups, all kinds of different portfolios made in the US, and governance. Polychain Capital portfolio. So Polychain is even investing in them. It's kind of like one of their competitors. So I like to hear experiences. If I listen smartly, then I will not have to go through the same terrible stuff. Yeah, exactly. I remember being a small child and my grandfather telling me that the best thing I could do was learn from other people's mistakes and not make them myself. And for whatever reason, it really stuck with me. And I have learned from other people's mistakes. Just a random bit of personal information. My dad ran a lot of halfway houses, if you know what that is. For a lot of people coming in and out of jail, recovering addicts. Not everybody there is an addict, obviously. Some of them are just court ordered to be there. So learning from other people's mistakes as a child was a very obvious thing to do, because there was a lot of people making a lot of mistakes. And there were millionaires in there who had lost everything. It was wild, especially for being a child. Anyways, let's talk about Arbitrum. Build anything today on Arbitrum, a unified blockchain for everyone where ideas thrive and boundaries fade. So bridge and explore, build an app, launch a chain, or contribute. So you could just launch your own chain. It's very interesting. So get on chain on Arbitrum. The fastest... Oh, wait, it wants to change on me. So performance, ecosystem, modularity, dev, EX, and security. So performance, the fastest execution environment with block times, gas limits, and data storage optimized for a reliable user and builder experience. Ecosystem, be a part of Arbitrum's expansive ecosystem where you could receive community support and funding to bring your ideas to life. Modularity, a flexible system where you can customize security, chain setup, and performance while keeping it simple for developers and users to get started. They really don't want me to read this. A seamless building environment with performance APIs for transaction processing, wallet connections, and intent handling. And of course, security. We don't need to read security. They have security because they are built on Ethereum. So the numbers don't lie. Arbitrum Chain leads the industry thanks to the talented and passionate community. So therefore, we kind of covered what Arbitrum is. They have a portal. They have a bridge. Open both of those real quick. So here's the portal. And what does a portal mean? So step into Arbitrum portal and discover one of 1,000+ applications built on Arbitrum. So this portal is really about all the different applications. It looks like you could do an entire stream just on Arbitrum, and I'm sure that we will. And then what is a bridge? Do you know what a bridge is? A bridge is just moving money from one place to another. If you want to get it from ETH to Arbitrum, this is where you're going to go. You're going to go to their bridge. And they probably support some other chains. I would not doubt that. All right, and since Victor was asking about it, we'll do just a little bit more talk about it as well. I want to go back and see what his exact kind of question was about Arbitrum. So he says, I bought Arbitrum. Is that good? Okay. Obviously, I can't tell you what to do with your money. I'm sure you're sick of me saying that as much as I'm sick of saying it. Max chart's down 61.3%. It's sitting at 52 cents. It had a high of $2.26. So if it went back to its all-time high, let's do this. Let's go to the Coin Perspective. Great website. Victor, have you ever heard of the Coin Perspective? Also, are you still here? Drop something in the comments so we know. But we're going to do this regardless even. He did say he was 2 minutes behind, so I'll keep that in mind. So we're doing Arbitrum. So here's a really interesting thing that we could do real quick. Let's look at its market cap. We can shift our chart by just clicking market cap. And let's look at one of these highs here where it had $4.4 billion in market cap, and some change, of course. So let's go to market cap. And you have to type it really slow for some reason. Oh, I shouldn't have put a point. Dang it. All right, so that's trillion. I'm messing this all up live in front of everybody. Pressure. No, I'm just messing around. Okay, so here's 447. Okay, there we go. So at this market cap here, if you had the same market cap as those spikes where it was at like $2.38, you would only be worth 84 cents. So you see the difference? Back when this project hit $2.38, this is the market cap they had. Well, if they had that same market cap today, they'd only be worth 84 cents. So why is that? Because of the way that tokenomics works. It is the circulating supply divided by the market cap equals price per unit. So if the amount of circulating supply continues to increase, you need more money to get to the same price you were at before. I hope that makes sense to somebody. And is it a good thing to hold? In my personal opinion, I don't think it's the worst thing to hold, but there's probably better things to hold. It just depends on your level of risk. That's another thing when people ask. I'll probably say this till the day I'm dead, until I'm blue in the face, but you know, it's really your appetite for risk. Are you a super risky person? How much money are you putting in? Is it like a 0.5% of your market cap? I think he did tell us. I think he said like less than 2% or something like that. So when you're talking less than 2%, you know, go for it. I wouldn't even say this is a super high risk project to be in. I would say this is more low risk, but remember that there's correlation. Low risk, low return. High risk, high return, and everything in the middle. So Victor, I hope that really answers your question, and I hope that you actually see this. Otherwise, you know, this was just for whoever else watches. Anyways, let's get back to our layer 2 deep dive. Or let's go back to our information here, right? So how developers, users, and investors benefit from layer 2 ecosystems. Developers can build fast, cheaper, and more scalable applications. Users enjoy low transaction fees and quicker confirmations, and investors gain exposure to ecosystems with high growing potential and increased adoption. Risk and benefits and the future of this narrative in crypto, because remember that layer 2s were built out of use case. They were necessary, they were needed. So if in the future new layer 1s come around and they don't need it, then you're probably not going to see a ton of them built out on that blockchain. So benefits is lower fees, of course, faster transactions, scalability, and greater accessibility for users worldwide. Risk, some layer 2s rely heavily on centralized sequencers, possible bugs in rollups, and dependency on layer 1 security. Nothing is bulletproof in the tech world. You know, there's going to be issues somewhere. Matter of fact, where has been the most exploits in crypto? I'm going to just go ahead and throw this as a question. Can anybody tell me where the majority of all exploits, money stolen, I'm not going to say lost, because obviously a lot of money's been lost from people sending it to the wrong wallets and stuff, but the most money literally stolen in crypto, where has most of that happened? Does anybody know? Can anybody put that in the chat? It's kind of an IQ test here. I have said it a few times. So future, not in this stream. Future is growing adoption of ZK rollups, more multi-chain layer 2 ecosystems, and integration with real-world asset and AI technology. And then they want to know if I want visual slides. No, I don't need any visual slides. But thanks, ChatGPT. All right, so let's get back to Arbitrum. We can kill that tab. Well, maybe I'll keep it in case we're going to go back. So Pol, it's another Ethereum-based layer 2, because Ethereum was really where the use case for this was born. Neo says Binance Smart Chain. It's actually bridges. In general, bridges of all different kinds. And we talked one day, what stream was that on? I think it was on Layer Zeros, where we talked a lot about bridges. And oh god, what is the other thing that's like a bridge? Atomic swaps. Wow, I can't believe I remembered that off the top of my head. So what is the difference between a bridge and an atomic swap? Well, atomic swaps are a little safer than bridges. Bridges were the original and sometimes very necessary. An atomic swap is when two different blockchains already communicate with each other. You could use an atomic swap, which is safer. And then a bridge is kind of more for anything else where two chains don't communicate with each other. So when you use a bridge, you're usually moving assets from one chain to another. Like say I wanted to move from Ethereum to Binance Smart Chain, since you said BSC. And thanks for taking a guess and interacting here. When you do that, you know, the money has to be pulled off of the ledger and then put on the ledger of Ethereum and then put on the ledger of Binance Smart Chain. It needs to be verified. Money needs to be removed. Money needs to be added. And of course, it needs to be verified and all of those different things. Well, there's a lot of room in that transactional process for a bad actor to come in and exploit, steal money. Anyways, let's talk about Polygon or Pol or Matic. So $2.7 billion in its market cap. Looks like they've been tracking it since October 24th, 2023. You can see it did a whole lot. Oh, this is market cap. Let's go to price. All right. Well, the chart looks very different, right? So at about 63 cents, it's down 59.2%. I hold a tiny bit of Polygon. I remember buying it at 30 cents. So it's sad to see literally like 4.5, 5 years later that I'm still underwater on Polygon. And this is one thing as far as, you know, going back to Victor's question about Arbitrum, where is the money and where is the money coming into the market cap of layer 2s? Yes, they're very tech driven. Yes, they solve a solution, but it's kind of up to the project itself to make sure money is flowing into their market cap. Maybe they would prefer that the money flowed into their pockets. I'm not accusing anybody, but it wouldn't be the craziest thought in the world, would it? Here I am knocking stuff over, trying to read what Lindsay's saying. Lindsay says, yes, I learned about bridges and islands. Your analogy was perfect. Okay, so you do remember that. Awesome, yeah. That was a good analogy. I got to remember to use it again if it ever comes up. So Polygon has a max supply of infinity, right? Don't love to see that, because when we talked about tokenomics and we talked about circulating supply being divided by the market cap, giving you the price, when it has an unlimited max supply, the price could be diluted forever. It's really up to the project themselves. Now, why they would want to do that, I have no idea, because it would only hurt their own project. But trusting everybody to be smart and make smart decisions, good luck. You know, I don't trust people to make smart decisions, especially the higher, it's probably going to sound messed up, but the higher the education and the higher the position in the big company, the more I expect them to make awful decisions. Polygon, Ethereum, we know that Polygon's an Ethereum-based thing. Smart contracts, a layer 2, they don't really give us a lot of categories. And really what I was getting at there with the Arbitrum and, you know, talking about what Victor brought up is who's really buying Polygon? Like, who's excited about it? Institutions, maybe? Are they getting some kind of, if you hold Polygon, like if you held Polygon and they gave you a 0.01%, you know, part of every transaction fee for being a holder or whatever, it could be much smaller than that, doesn't really matter, then I can see why people would want to hold it. But what is the reason to hold Polygon? What is the reason to hold Arbitrum other than hoping that people invest in its market cap? So Buffling says, I heard Poly is a dead chain for new developers. Can you easily see how many developers are on Poly versus other chains? You know, that's a metric. That's a very important metric. I'm actually really glad that you brought that up, Buffling. That is a very crypto IQ question to ask. As far as a place where you could just go look at how many developers they have, haven't really seen anything like that. But what we could do is ask ChatGPT. So let's say, how can, why am I typing this like 2016 or something? Let's just hit the microphone. How can I tell how many developers are on Polygon Matic, the layer 2 blockchain for Ethereum, versus other layer 2 blockchains, and how many developers they have? Where can I find this metric? And I asked the other day if you could hear when I hit the microphone, and somebody said that you could, so you would know exactly what I just asked it. And we'll see what information it gives us. We'll come back to it in just a second. Here's their website, and you know, I'm judging them by their website. That's part of the crypto deep dive. Part of my methods is to really look at their website. Is it entertaining? Is it easy to read? Is the information you would really need for somebody who just happened to stumble across the website, that you would stick around long enough to read it to know what it's talking about? So gigagas roadmap to 100K throughputs per second. That's what TPS stands for. Watchman says, I'm back, and yes, I'll look into that drift coin. Awesome, man. Yeah, as soon as we came across it in the trendings, I was like, oh man, I got to make sure Watchman knows about this. And that's the beauty of being a community, right? So Polygon is the let me start over because I'm already reading just whatever I want. Polygon is the fast, low-cost, blockchain powering real-world asset and global payments used by millions every day. So it seems like they probably updated their website not too long ago, and they're talking about real-world assets. Because again, when Polygon came out, that narrative really was never talked about. It wouldn't have been something catchy that you would have seen on the front of their page. So with the real-world asset narrative, I could see them maybe getting some more newer, what do you want to call it? Speculation. Let's go with that. Bufflink says, sorry, I was driving in the volume on my side. It was my fault. Oh, no worries, dude. No worries at all. Matter of fact, I had an issue on Crypto Lifer's stream where it was cutting in and out, and I saw other people saying it too. And then I super chatted about it, and he was like, nah, it's just you. And I was like, oh, it probably was. And then I refreshed it, and he was right, and I was like, dang it, that was a waste of a super chat. I could have said something way more interesting than that. I thought I was being helpful. Anyways, what we know / sources. So ChainSpect has a developer activity dashboard. We're going to have to dig into that. I'm glad that you brought that up. That seems like a very crypto IQ thing to do. Developer activity dashboard that shows active developers, respiratory, and commits. You know, those are probably different metrics across many blockchains. You can compare Polygon with other L1s and L2s using it. Stack.money shows developer activity for Polygon, including how many GitHub repos are being monitored, commits over the past period of whatever amount of time. Oak Research has reports on layer 2 blockchains comparing developer activity, ecosystem metrics, and usage. Talk about some techie stuff here and how to find these counts. Are basically saying, you know, go to the websites we just gave you, dummy, and figure it out. So I'm going to say, can you just tell me how many developers are active on Polygon? You would think asking it a question like that, it would at least provide me with that information, but I guess that's not really what I asked it. Go. Do it already. We're like so ungrateful with AI. We're just like, can you do this faster and read our minds already? So Buff, Link, just glad you are here. Oh, okay. Yeah, we are always glad for everybody who shows up. And I'm not just saying that so that you'll keep showing up. I genuinely love to do this, and I love to see when anybody else cares about what I love to do. So build, get access to documentation, stake, use Polygon. This thing doesn't seem dead to me, but could it be kind of lurking in the shadows? I mean, Solana really stole a lot of the thunder out of DeFi when it came to Ethereum DeFi. And honestly, Ethereum just had the issue where they couldn't solve the fee issue fast enough. To this day, I don't know that they've solved it. It's why they changed to proof of stake from proof of work. But I don't know that they really solved the problem. So Polygon POS support the most widely used Ethereum scaling ecosystem that offers EVM compatibility and an ultimate user experience with fast transactions at near zero gas fees today. Polygon zk EVM, zero knowledge Ethereum virtual machine, unlock Ethereum scalability while maintaining security with the first zk rollup, and we talked about that offers EVM equivalence with fast transactions at near zero gas cost today. So that seems like something maybe they've done more recently. So that shows some innovation. A decentralized rollup that leverages private data storage. So this is Maiden. So it's about data storage and local transaction execution because privacy scales better. And tech does not really translate to price action. It's almost like the last thing, unless for some reason the tech is groundbreaking and it's getting a bunch of news around it. Most people would never know if Polygon came out and made everything they did 100 times better than it used to be, unless somebody in the news, cycles or something says something about it. Most people would never know. Check the chat. All right. So Optimism, another one. Again, optimistic roll-ups. That's why it's called Optimism. Number 98 by market cap, $1.4 billion in market cap. So just coming out of the ones we just talked of, we've already come down to $1.4 billion in market cap. We're at like the fourth project. So you can see there's some big players in this space, and then there's everybody else. So let's see what kind of category tags they have. Of course, smart contract, layer 2, roll up. Optimism superchain ecosystem. That's very interesting. Let's open that in a new tab and see what the heck that is, because that's a very interesting tag. WorldCoin. Okay, so all of these things are considered to be a part of Optimism's superchain ecosystem. So Optimism considering itself a superchain. And being a layer 2 on Ethereum or something like that, you would have to branch out and keep moving and keep doing other stuff. So it's a layer 2, but it's also its own contract address, something you don't normally see on a layer 2. So it's like a layer 2, but they want to be able to be used anywhere and everywhere. So they've made it so that technology can be ported all around, and that's why you have a super ecosystem, because these are all the different coins that are using Optimism in some way, shape, or form. Very interesting. Definitely raising the crypto IQ on that one. And let's go to their website. Maybe we could dive in a little bit more of what optimistic roll-ups are and have a better, definition than what I gave earlier. So own your infrastructure and grow your margins. The most used blockchain infrastructure. Launch scalable, customizable layer 2s and apps with Ethereum grade security powered by OP Stack. Website looks pretty nice. We got World Chain, Base, Selenium, however I'm supposed to say that. One modular stack, infinite ways to build. Open source, super fast, ultra low cost transactions. Interoperable, communicates with other blockchains. I mean, that's literally the basis of what it does. And they have Ethereum grade security, customizable, and one-click deployment. Get started with local chain. And then it gets a little bit techie. Apps can launch your chains in seconds. So there's all these different chains where you could launch, or all these different apps where you could launch your own chain in second. And I said this the other day, very much like launch pads that are allowing people to launch their own meme coins. I don't know that we really want everybody and their grandmother to start launching their own layer 1 protocols. I don't know if that's a good idea, but they're going to let you do it, because why wouldn't they? I do believe in people's freedom to do whatever they want, but it does muddy the water, and it does make less money flow into the good projects as people who have low crypto IQs throw money at ridiculous things, because they get the marketing going on social media. They get people's attention, and people think they have something great. They buy in, and they steal all your money. It happens every day, all the time. You are continuously raising my crypto IQ. I feel stupid, but you are so kind and inspiring, so it makes me feel less anxious to learn. Thank you, sir. Well, you're definitely not stupid. We're talking about things that most people don't even know exist, you know? And we're in crypto and we're like, oh, I don't know everything about crypto. How many people don't even know that crypto is a real relevant thing? They've heard about it, kind of, sort of. They heard about Shiba Inu or some meme coin, and they think it's a joke, and they don't realize that there's real tech here that's going to run the world and is already starting to run the world. So you're absolutely welcome. And if I can make the barrier to entry easier, if I can make it easy to digest or not seem as intimidating, then I'm doing my goal right there. That's the vision. So Immutable X, I don't know if I knew this was a layer 2. Let's look at its tag. So GameFi, I definitely knew that, but it is a layer 2, and ZK rollup. All right, and also just regular rollup, blockchain gaming marketplace. All right, so it's very much related to gaming, but it's also a layer 2, and it's got to be a layer 2 for Ethereum because it has an Ethereum contract and no other contract. I mean, for a while, DeFi pretty much lived on Ethereum. So everything gaming would have been there because that's where almost all DeFi was, right? Well, now we have a bunch of other chains. Gaming on Ethereum might not be the most attractive thing to retail. I think gaming on Solana is probably the most attractive place to be, or base blockchain. Binance Smart Chain, of course, holding it down because they were the next step from Ethereum. IMX, the universal gaming token. Gaming is inevitable, which I agree with. It's a massive global economy with billions of players. IMX is the easiest way to get involved. And I definitely looked at this on Friday when we did our GameFi, and it's Wednesday, so we will be back to GameFi. I look forward to that stream, I really do. Trading rewards extended. So they have rewards and they're extending it, and liquidity matters. So Digital World Foundation is supporting the newly launched immutable ZK EVM chain by providing IMX rewards for liquidity providers starting the 7th of March. So here's one thing to think about. Although IMX is a chain on Ethereum, layer 2 and all that stuff, they launch side chains, and many projects have side chains. What's the one project that has parachains? Is it Polkadot? It's got to be Polkadot. Has something called parachains, which is like the same thing, parallel chains. And that's where things get really confusing. If you want to know how an actual blockchain works, it can get pretty confusing. So we won't go there. And honestly, it's not that important. In certain applications, parallel chains and stuff could be important, but they're not always important. So I wish I had a good diagram. Most ledgers operate, one block to the next block, mining a block. Maybe you've heard that from Bitcoin miners or people who mine different things. Reliable J might be able to back me up on that a little bit because he knows a lot more about mining than I do. But, it's just like one block to the next block. But sometimes there's other random blocks that are created. I don't, usually not on purpose, that will mess a blockchain up pretty good. And so certain chains have embraced the fact that parallel chains pop up. And I think I explained that correctly. Doing the best I can. So Lindsay Lynn says, I've invested heavy into Bitcoin and ETH almost evenly. I feel like I need to back off ETH, but then I see things like this and I'm on the fence for sure. And what do you mean by this? Like layer 2s and stuff like that? Not sure what you mean by that, and I would love to, accurately be useful there. Because layer 2s, I mean, they're useful and necessary, but I don't know. There's probably a lot of projects that will make a lot more revenue as far as speculation goes, and that's what most of the people, how many people do you think are really, married to the tech behind crypto? And how many people came in because they want to see price go up, number go up, the most non-IQ thing, they just want to see the number go up, right? Which, now there's nothing wrong with it. We're all here for profits. But other people maybe can see the vision that these things are going to run the world at some point. And a lot of times they already are, and you just don't realize it. Stacks. Stacks is something we used to talk about a lot in crypto, and it seems to have kind of faded to the background. But apparently it's a layer 2. I believe it's Bitcoin. It's got to be Bitcoin, right? Does it say Bitcoin? Yeah, Bitcoin sidechain. Yes, I mean layer 2s that ride on ETH, I guess. You give me good things to think through. Awesome. Well, that's what we're here for. I can feel your crypto IQ growing because you're asking questions. That's what I love to see. 1.2 billion in the market cap of Stacks. It's infrastructure, it's smart contracts, it's a Bitcoin side chain. We were just talking about parallel chains. Well, this is a side chain. Similar, but not the same. Made in US. And it's in a couple of different portfolios. Portfolios and people following things that are in portfolios, a very TradFi thing to do. I don't feel like people in crypto, unless they came from TradFi, are all that worried about it. So anyway, Stacks has a infinite max supply and $1.2 billion in its market cap. Max chart says October 25th, 2019 came out at about 37 cents, and it's sitting at 67 cents. So since it basically came out, you'd be up 79.5%, not even a whole 1x. Now, obviously, there were points where it was way up. If you want to be fair, its highest was, looks like $3.65 at one point. Let's go to their website. Maybe get rid of some of the websites we don't need. Don't want to get laggy on me here. Activate the Bitcoin economy with the leading Bitcoin L2. So one thing I would pause to say here is that lately when it comes to trending coins, I have seen a lot of Bitcoin DeFi coins trending. What does that mean? Is Bitcoin DeFi heating up? Are there new innovations over on Bitcoin that are going to allow smart contracts to really operate better, more efficiently? I got this fan right above me, and it makes my mouth super dry when I'm talking. So sorry if I'm constantly like drinking things. Meet the Satoshi upgrades. Beautiful Bitcoin DeFi. Guess I need to have the lemon water on deck, right? That would be the lifer thing to do. Self-custodial on-ramps. Sustainable Bitcoin yields. Why Bitcoin? Security. Adopted. Untapped. Over 1 trillion in latent capital is waiting for builders, funders, and creators to activate it. That's a good point. There is a lot of money over on Bitcoin that is not really flowing around an ecosystem, right? So build on Bitcoin, the most secure base layer. And I mean, you get it. It's DeFi for Bitcoin. That's what it is. And we'll move on. Because I could do this. I feel like I say this every stream. I mean, we could do this for 7 hours. I could. Most of you guys probably get very tired of it or just be overloaded. And that's why we just stream. Originally, I started doing these streams like 45 minutes was what my idea. I'll just hop on and talk about for 45 minutes. And then all of a sudden you get on some topics and information. It's been well over an hour. And now we've been doing about 2 hours. So we'll see how much people can retain. We are not lifers without the lemon water. I'm going to make sure I have some lemon water tomorrow, because that's just the lifer thing to do. So $562.2 million in its market cap. So we're already down in just the millions of dollars in the market cap. Max chart says StarkNet has been around since February 19th, 2024. For whatever reason, this thing has been trending. Trying to go over here and actually see what's trending, because I'm pretty sure it was trending again today, and we totally skipped the top gainers, top losers. I just felt like there were so many questions and things I had to get to. I totally forgot top gainers and losers, so we'll look at that at the end of the day. All right, so I don't see it here. It must have been over here on crypto rank. StarkNet, I know I saw it. I guess I'm really just doing this for me. StarkNet. Yep, here it is. And what is StarkNet? Now, I feel like I looked at this just the other day, and its chart made me just go, I don't know if this thing's ever going to do anything. But it is February 19th, 2024. 2024 is kind of that spot where it's like, If it came out in that time, of course it dumped, right? Of course it's drawed down, because they have really just crushed anything that wasn't Bitcoin this cycle. Ethereum contract, StarkNet is a layer 2 on Ethereum. It's gotta be zero knowledge. And then we learned about what layer 2s are and what they do, but how many layer 2s do we need on one chain on Ethereum? You know, who are gonna, you know, have side chain and then update the main chain, do transactions off a chain. Ethereum is a huge project, so I could definitely see room for more than just one or two. But like at this point, I feel like we've been over 5 or 6. I don't know that there's enough money for all of them to be relevant, say 5-6 years from now. And somebody said Polychain was dead. Maybe it's the loser there. It has that first mover advantage, but I guess it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be the winner. All right, we got a new chat from somebody. Craig M. I don't know if I've seen you before, but I appreciate you being in here. Hey, brother, followed you over from Sam's channel. You're doing a great job, and I wish you nothing but success in the future, my friend. See in the crypto lifers spot tomorrow. Keep it up. Thank you very much, Craig. I appreciate you coming over and saying nice things. I hope I'm doing a good job for everybody. And I don't know if that means you're not sticking around, but I appreciate you stopping over, and you'll definitely see me in the morning over on the Lifer channel, because that, you know, that was where I spent all of my, not all my time, but whenever he's live, I'm always there. But I just started being a little more active with commenting and stuff like that. Matter of fact, I realized the other day that I was commenting from another YouTube, you know, profile that I have, and that nobody knew who I was or what I was saying. So I got to make sure I don't do that again. Bitcoin x Ethereum, supercharged by zkTech, zero knowledge, and random pop-up. Just want to see, does that random pop up for you guys? Leave it up for just a second. StarkNet fuses Bitcoin integration and Ethereum's utility to unleash a whole new DeFi experience. So StarkNet really hasn't been around that long. You would think if they came out with a project and they had some innovative technology or big ideas, that they would, you know, have something really to show for it. So they have this little video. And this is also a little bit of a test here, as I just want to see how well this video plays for you guys. Everybody, please drop something in the comment and tell me, is this video lagging out for you? Is it playing smoothly? Because just like Lindsay said earlier, sometimes it looks like it's laggy on my side as far as the other computer I have up playing, but then you guys tell me it's not, so I'm not sure. I've tried to play some gaming trailers and stuff, and I think it just lagged out and nobody really enjoyed it, and I don't want to do that to you guys. Also, there's no sound on this thing, so. And it was a promotional video. It didn't tell you anything about anything. I mean, those are good for social media, but at the same time, Hopium says smooth as ice. Awesome. I'm glad to know that. We will play some different videos over time, and we'll see if it stays that way. So, unlimited scale. StarkNet utilizes the power of Stark technology to ensure computational integrity by validating off-chain transactions with advanced math and cryptography. StarkNet overcomes Ethereum's scalability limitations. StarkNet is a validity rollup that provides unlimited scale while retaining Ethereum security and decentralization. After reading that, most of you, well, I want to give you guys credit. Like, somebody's probably thinking, wow, that was way too, techie. A lot of it is just words, the definitions you need to know, and raise your crypto IQ. But what they're actually saying here is not that far-fetched or hard to understand. I just really want to encourage anybody who gets overwhelmed by some of the techie stuff, whether it's this or anything else. Maybe it's for your job. Maybe a lot of times it's just definitions of words, and if you just go look the words up and know the definitions, you'll go, ah, okay, I get it. Not that complicated. Always want to encourage people. So Bufflink says, I bought a granular lemon power just for my life or water. It's hilarious. I bought granular lemon powder just for my water. Hey, there you go. That's a great idea. Because I was just thinking when I said, I'm going to make sure I have lemon water. And I'm the type of person, if I say that, I'm going to make sure I have lemon water. And that means I have to go to the store and get lemons. I'm already locked in. I have to do it because I said I would. That's just who I am. But a thing of powdered granular lemons, now you're thinking I could have lemons and lemon water every day and not have to constantly run out to the store. So that's some IQ right there. Lindsay Lynn says, oh, no, you didn't. That's awesome. Yeah. Smart thing to do. I'm getting the vibe that Bufflink is a smart guy. Superior UX and developer hub. So this is all StarkNet, very techy, and I just don't want to overbore you guys with that because that's not really what we were talking about here. We're just talking about layer 2s, and StarkNet is a layer 2. I remember going over it the other day and looking at its chart and thinking, my God, this thing is never going to come back. But if you want to be fair, 2024, it could still come back. It could still be relevant. But the question has to be asked, why would layer 2s be exciting? Who's putting the money in, I guess, is the question we're talking about. Probably not retail, right? I mean, what are the odds that StarkNet or zkSync are going to go on this huge social media campaign, marketing campaign, and rile up all of this hype on social media about it? Probably not. I mean, one or two of them might do something like that, but not all of them are going to do that. And what is there to excite people about? Like, this is called zkSync. So zero knowledge sync, like synchronizing. How do you hype people up about that? The average person is not concerned. They like meme coins, you know? $429.2 million market cap. I don't mean to be mean, but it's true. We all know people who don't have very good attention span. And when you try to talk to them about techie stuff or just life stuff, you can see their eyes glaze over. And you can see that they just don't have the bandwidth for the conversation. And it's always sad because those people, you know, I'm just talking freely here because that's what I like to do. It's underground crypto, you know. A lot of times I feel really bad because they're people who are looking for help and they're looking for a way out of, you know, terrible situations financially, job, whatever, and then you try to give them some sauce and they just look at you like, I can't process that. And then you're like, well, I understand why you're in the situation that you're in. You gotta try. And I do a lot of mentoring's probably not the right word, but I do a lot of talking with younger kids and stuff like that. Maybe I'll get into that another time, but yeah, it's sad. It's just people give up before they ever even tried. Anyways, that's not what we're supposed to be talking about. We're supposed to be talking about zkSync. How did I get onto that topic? Let's go to their website, zinc.io. So, ZK revolution for the new digital economy. I just realized Optimism never told us a better definition of what Optimism rollups are. The random things you remember later. So, leading banks, exchanges, and I want to say lending so bad. Leading banks, exchanges, and enterprises use zkSync to future-proof their financial infrastructure. Build on Ethereum, zkSync delivers the privacy, scalability, and compliance needed to issue assets, power payments, and launch new financial products, giving you a secure foundation to grow with confidence. How many people here, this is random, how many people here ever had to read in front of a bunch of people at their school or whatever, and it was like the biggest thing they dreaded ever? I can't say that I was one of those people, to be honest, but I definitely know a lot of people in my classes who were like that. And this is like that, but like in front of who knows how many people, you know, will see this, the ones who are live. So it's like, I don't know. It gives you that element of like, you're supposed to be nervous, but I'm not actually nervous. I don't know why I'm sharing that with you. I am. So Bufflink says, I can't wait for ZK rollups for Caspa, SC and L2 integration. I'm sure that's what he meant by IGRA. Yeah, Caspa is an interesting thing. Have I done a Caspa live stream yet? I don't know that I have. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to write down Caspa, and I'm also going to write down the Optimism A super ecosystem? Is that what it was? Because when I'm done with the stream, I have 13, 15, 20 ideas for different, topics for streams. And then I get to my computer in the morning after Lifer show, and I go to set up my show for the day, and I'm like, I have absolutely no idea what I should do a stream on. All right, Lindsay Lins says they don't have the bandwidth. That is perfect. That is said perfectly. You can't force, I don't know why I can't read them, to focus. And it's sad, but you cannot force it. Much love. Yeah, exactly. I love the saying that you could lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink any. And that's a lot of times what it feels like. It's just sad when you see people who are desperate and at least in a moment of realizing that they're desperate, and then you try to help them and they're just like, oh, that's what I have to do? I'm not going to do that. And you're just like, okay, then I guess stay in the bad situation, right? Hey, crypto layer, good to see you all beautiful peeps. I think he meant crypto lifer, maybe, or crypto layer. I don't know, maybe I'm reading that wrong. But Blues Guy is back, and he has been pretty involved in yesterday's stream and stuff. I really love to see people come back day after day, because people come in, they ask some questions, and then as a new channel, I never know if I'm ever going to see him again. Speech class was the worst, says Hopium Days. All right, so you know what I'm talking about. So when I mess up, God knows how many people will think that I don't know how to speak. And really, I'm just exhausted a lot of times. I definitely try not to show it, but it's 8 o'clock and I've been going since early, and them workouts have been slapping hard. So I'd be very tired by the end of the stream. Global payments, tokenized assets, and capital marketing 2.0. But listening to all of this Jim Rohn lately makes me feel like you can't make any excuses for anything. I can't say I'm too tired and I can't do my stream, even when I had nobody who was watching it. You do it for yourself, and I'm very much like Sam, where I'm very into the personal development and stuff like that, and inspiring people. I know we're doing crypto deep dive, and I'm probably talking way too much about things that I wouldn't say not supposed to, but that are off topic. But that's also very a passion of mine, bettering yourself. You do it for yourself. God knows what you do and you don't do when nobody's around. And holding yourself accountable is one of the most powerful things you could do for progress and success in your own life. That was for somebody. So Blues Guy says, good to be here again. Just finished a 12-hour shift. I'm beat, but I'm happy to catch you live. Well, if you just completed a 12-hour shift and you're here, man, then I really respect you for that, because it would be easy to say, I'm too tired today, I'm just going to go sleep, eat some food, go to sleep, whatever you do. But you decided to pop in and say hello and raise your crypto IQ. To me, that's the type of mentality, talking about personal development, that will keep you winning. Because if you're working a 12-hour shift, I'm sure you want to one day not have to do that. All right, so I already read that. Anyways, we're talking about zkSync. Own your blockchain infrastructure full stack with Providium and zkSync stack. Enterprises get full control of their blockchain environment, public or private. Customize, extend, and deploy infrastructure that meets your exact needs while benefiting from Ethereum security guarantees. Lindsay says no 0 days. Oh, she's talking to Blues Guy. Cool. All right, so Providium, I think that's what I'm supposed to say. It's great when you see words like Providium. I don't even know if Providium is a regular word that anybody would ever use, or if it's very much to what we're talking about here. They coin different terms all the time, but it's great reading words you've absolutely never seen before live. Have I beat that horse enough? Providium runs private financial infrastructure on chain. The only Ethereum secured blockchain platform purpose-built for institutions that demand privacy, compliance, and full data control. Why enterprises choose Providium? For all the reasons that are pretty much why you would choose Ethereum. All right, so ZK is very much about privacy. I feel like I'm just reading the same idea over and over on their website in different places. and that seems a little stale. So let's move this thing along here. Bufflink says, was that a Bud Light? No wonder you're not afraid of talking to people. No. I don't know what they would do for me drinking on stream. I don't know if they care. It's a Zevia. It's like a zero sugar soda. I grew up loving soda, but when you get on the health and the fitness kick and those things, you can't have the sugar, man. It's like, it's amazing. I used to drink soda all the time. I did nothing else different. Just cut out drinking soda, sugary soda, and I lost weight immediately. So if you're trying to do that kind of thing and you're still drinking Coca-Cola, just stop. There's too many good sodas, Ollipops and stuff like that out there nowadays that are way, way less sugar, and you can get the same enjoyment of a carbonated drink that tastes good without having to get all that sugar. I see how Lifer gets off topic because there is a million things I could just sit here and ramble about. Let's go back to our list of layer 2s. But that was funny, Bufflink. Yeah, I'm just absolutely hammered on here, and that's why I don't mind. I would be stumbling over all my words, that's for sure. So we have Lena. Now, Lena is an interesting one. It's climbed the ranks really fast. It came out not very long ago, September 10th, 2025. Already has $399.9, let's call it $400 million in its market cap. So Blues Guy says, what did I miss? Well, we talked about layer 2s, and we talked about why layer 2s are important. And I'm just going to recap on it for a half a second here. Don't run away and think I'm going to read this whole thing over again, because I'm not. But basically layer 2s, because this is the main takeaway from the day, right? Layer 2s are protocols that are built on top of layer 1s. What's a layer 1? Bitcoin, Ethereum, big blockchains that you know, smart contract platforms. But they get a lot of congestion with transactions. So what does a layer 2 does? It takes those transactions off of the main chain, bringing down both the congestion on the blockchain and also the price per transaction. And then it settles them off chain and then re-updates the original layer 1 main blockchain, and all the information is good, and the layer 1 keeps running as if it had all happened on that chain. That's what a layer 2 is. And then you have different methods of doing this: optimistic rollups, zero knowledge rollups. And we talked just very briefly about what the difference between zero knowledge and optimistic was. But the real takeaway here is that they're a chain built on top of another chain that helps it run more effectively. You could say it optimizes a chain, like Polygon optimizes Ethereum. And the whole narrative of layer 2 really came out around the problems in Ethereum. And so a lot of them are on Ethereum. So this is Lena. It is a layer 2, but it has its own contract address. And it also has an Ethereum contract address. So it's a layer 2 on Ethereum. This is a good one to know because Lena is newer. All right, Blues Guy says, sweet, thanks, man. Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind at all. Appreciate the recap as well. No problem. And we talk about so many different things. If at least a couple times throughout the stream, I can bring it back to focus for everybody so we can really know what we really should be taking away for our crypto IQs. That I think really helps everybody stay on track here and feel like they got something out of it. Let's go to their website. All right, I just remembered the website. I feel like I've been over this website every day this week, and I probably have because it's in the what's trending, but that's what it takes sometimes to be familiar with stuff. You do have to look at it multiple times. All right, what did I back this up for? Oh, because I wanted to see when it came out. We already went over that. It was September 10th, 2025. Today is the 17th, so literally 7 days ago. All right, now we'll go to the website. So on their website, they say this phrase over and over again: building the layer 2 where Ethereum wins. Now, I wasn't aware that Ethereum wasn't winning. I know that people got a little down on it, but it's still the second biggest crypto by market cap, period. And where, I don't know the exact percentage, but probably something like 80% or more of development goes on in crypto is on Ethereum. Oh, and it's also where all the institutions favor to be when it comes to smart contracts in Web3. So when they say building the L2 where Ethereum wins, you know, Ethereum's already winning, and they've been winning since like day one. Growing the adoption of Lina's technology, the research of its ecosystem, applications, and the influence of its community. Bridge to Lina. So you could click here. It'll take you to a bridge. It's not an atomic swap. It's a bridge. They do have a swap. And how would we know if this swap was atomic? I guess it would have to be atomic to be a swap. So native bridge, centralized exchange, funding your account, bridge aggregator. I just want to go back to the bridge that we were just at. I don't want to have to pick all of that stuff. Oh, well, you were going to have to pick it anyways. Okay, so this is real Web3. That's actually a stream now that I'm thinking about it. Let's do Web3 as another thing for a stream, because one thing I'll say is a lot of people use the idea of cryptocurrencies like they're just currencies. They buy them, they're speculating on the price going up, but not a lot of people have actually connected wallets. How many people here have something they use at least once every couple of months that they actually connect their wallet to? MetaMask would be a great example of that. That's real DeFi, where you don't have a username or a login anymore. You log in to your MetaMask or whatever it is, and then where you just go to the website and it instantly pulls it up. You can approve it and connect to it, and then you can do whatever you need to do, and it just knows who you are based off of your wallet. It basically knows who your wallet is. And honestly, the idea of not having to put your username and password in for everything and have a million passwords just sounds like the next level of internet to me. So Bufflink says, congrats, soft drinks are worthless. Yeah, absolutely. Super sugary. I think it's a good coin on ETH. ETH about to melt faces. I must have missed something there. Holy, already an hour and a half live, bro. You freaking rock. Thanks for waiting on me. Oh, you're absolutely welcome. Yeah, I was saying, I don't know if you heard it. Originally, I was going to do these streams for like 45 minutes to an hour. That is not enough time. Bufflink says, don't forget to hit the like button. Absolutely. Cryptomaniac 1776 in the house. I appreciate you stopping by. Really enjoyed you interacting with us yesterday. I don't know if I've seen you yet today. Have you been here yet today? I don't want to say you haven't and then you were. No, I haven't seen you in the comments at least yet today. So what's up, man? I appreciate you being here. How many people are still holding out on joining that Discord? I post and will be posting more and more in that Discord and growing that community. So, you know, that's really going to be for, I guess, the people who really want to raise that crypto IQ. I'm not getting at this moment, and don't let this deter you from joining the Discord. At this moment, I'm not getting enough time to put into the Discord as I'd like, but I'm posting over there. Don't think I'm not. But there's like the Constellation Tag Deep Dive. I decided I'm going to turn that into a video for the channel. Also will be posted over there, but I haven't got the chance to do it yet. Bootstrapped by Consensus, owned by the Lina community, and I think this Consensus is an actual project. Then they have this giant picture of this guy. I think we played this the other day. And I think it told us nothing. How well can you hear this, guys? Can you guys hear this at all? All right, so I don't really have it hooked up where you can hear it. I just realized how I could do that, but I don't have that set up. So they were saying absolutely nothing. This is like a promotional video for this. They were just saying, like, you know, we thought we couldn't do it, and then we almost gave up, but then we ended up just doing it, and then now we did it. And that's what they're saying. It's a pretty stupid video, honestly, but it's very promotional. And we have some comments. Let me get to them. So John Shanks, I don't know why I want to say Starks. John Shanks says, just subscribed, another lifer, here yo. Man, the lifer community, I knew you guys were the best, but you guys just prove it again and again as I see people hop over from there and be supportive here. Couldn't ask for a better community to have been a part of, and obviously still a part of. So Crypto Maniac 1776 says, just joined, had to get my daughter down to sleep. Absolutely understand. I have 2 children, so I definitely get it. Both, and they're young, they're not old or older, you know, where they take care of themselves. Waiting on that. Have you heard of Hot? Is thicker and it's called Holochain. Well, I've definitely heard of Holochain. Hot, I guess, is the ticker of it. We can look at that, Blue Sky. We've looked at it a couple of times as it has been trending. We'll do that in just a second. Yeah, Lindsay Glenn says, cannot hear really low volume. That's because it's being picked up by my mic, and this is, oh man, I'm not that techie, a dynamic mic, I believe. It's a great microphone, but it actually does a good job of only picking up what's right in front of it and not things going on in the house and stuff like that. That's why I use it. You wouldn't necessarily use it for recording music or something. So Hopium says, I'm shaking my head no, but you can't see me. Right. Yeah, I definitely can't see you. That's funny. And I think I got all of them. Let's look at Holochain for the Blues guy and make sure he knows that we just absolutely appreciate him being here. So I'm going to go to trending because I do want to just double check that this is still trending. I know it has been trending. And where we at? Holochain, don't see it. All right, so we'll go to Crypto Rank, see if we see it over here. Yeah, Holo World. Oh wait, you're talking about Holochain. Well, my mistake. You could see how one could confuse Holo World for Holochain. Yeah, he says Holochain. All right, so we'll go and actually look it up, which is probably what I should have done originally, but because I didn't, I actually realized that they're not the same thing. Or maybe he did mean that other thing. I don't know. So Holochain is not coming up. Hot is the ticker. I probably should have just did that instead. Holo. All right. So if you're looking it up, it's just Holo. But it's not Holo World. It's a different project. So the max chart on this thing says April 29th, 2018. And I love how much we've been doing these deep dives and research because it's really allowed me to refine kind of my routine for running through a coin and what I want to look at and what I think is most important. So 139.2 is what it's up on its max chart. It's number 380 by market cap. It's not that far down there with $174.3 million in its market cap. Ethereum blockchain, Arbitrum, Base, Harmony, Energy, Sora. Energy and Sora, I know what Harmony is. I remember when Harmony came out. But Energy and Sora, I'm not familiar with. I keep seeing Energy on different things. We're going to have to do another layer 1 deep dive. We did one, but there were so many, we couldn't get to them all. And I didn't even have people chatting constantly. So it's my own fault that we just couldn't get to them all. And I guess I did more like an hour stream that day. Yep, it's an older coin. Servado Estrada. I think I said it right the first time. Came to support and smash the likes. Thanks, man. I recognize your name. I'm pretty sure I recognize you from the Crypto Lifers. I think I added, said something to you the other day over there. So I appreciate you coming over. Especially if you're just landing here. I've said it a bunch of times, but I really appreciate the whole Lifer community that has been supporting me. And the other day when he shouted me out, he said that he thinks my channel is a good, compliment to his channel. And that was an amazing compliment to me and what I'm building. More of a compliment to what I'm building, I guess, than to me personally. So Holo hosting, let's talk about it. First, let's go to its categories. I'm getting ahead of myself. Smart contract, storage, DPIN, and then DPIN index, the GMCI index. I don't really look at those things as much, but DPIN, decentralized infrastructure, and storage would very much think that storage would be a part of decentralized infrastructure, right? So wallets can be held in a ledger. And I just think that CoinGecko does a really good job of just putting all the information together for you. Because even if you scroll down for a second, you'll see the historical prices, something I'll be trying to grab the exact top of stuff, and I realize that it's just right here. So I learn things all the time. Or relearn things. I knew it and then totally forgot about it. Anyways, we'll do it right now because sometimes it's hard to get that perfect top. So let's go look at what the top for hot was. All-time high was 0.3 cents. And it looks like it's saying it's down 96% from then. And the all-time low was, 0.0002, and it's up 345% from that all-time low. That's good information to know that we can get to real quickly. And again, we said April 29, 2018. So it's been around a while. All right, let's get to their website. Bufflink says very low for me. Are you talking about the sound? Bufflink, you might be a little bit behind on the stream. It's perfectly fine. There's plenty of times I'm watching the Lifers stuff and I'm definitely a couple minutes behind. And I want to skip ahead, but I don't want to miss anything. Community-owned cloud hosting infrastructure for decentralized resilience. So it's cloud hosting, right? Cloud storage. For organization building ethically, Hollow offers hosting infrastructure that keeps data ownership, user agencies, and system control where it belongs, with people, not platforms. So for Blues Guy, I think is the one who asked about this. Yep. I take that back. I have heard of this. I have gone over this before in my own time before, but I wasn't super blown away by it or anything. I personally don't know that I believe that cloud hosting is the best thing because it's very centralized. When you're cloud hosting, you need to have the infrastructure, the physical infrastructure. We say infrastructure a lot of time in a digital sense, but you really need actual infrastructure, right? And I am going to take off of these glasses. I don't know why I'm still wearing them. They're Meta glasses. I don't actually wear glasses. But do they make me look smarter? Do they make me look like I know what I'm talking about more? Maybe I should wear them all the time on the stream. So the Blues Guy says, yes, indeed, you are very knowledgeable, professional, and very friendly. We appreciate having a guy like you, a guy like yourself in here. You actually have content, and man, you're helpful. Much love. Thanks, Blues Guy. I really appreciate that. I didn't know what to expect when I decided I was going to go live stream, Monday through Friday, and probably at some point I will probably be doing every day. Just because I love doing it and I love having a community and people to share what I love doing with. How many times have you wanted to talk crypto with somebody who maybe is already a good friend to you or a family member? You wanted to tell them about stuff and there's just zero conversation, maybe because they didn't know a lot about it and they just didn't want to talk about something they didn't know. Other times they're just oh God, I don't want to talk about this at all. And it sucks. So that's another big part of why I wanted to have a community. So what we do, Hollow delivers hosting infrastructure. That's our mission. So the basis of this is cloud computing. You can have a node, you can have a web bridge, community values, partnerships. That can be somewhat interesting. This vice versa. I don't want to read all of it. I just kind of look in. PhD co-founder. All right. Hive. So two, projects I have foundations or whatever I've absolutely never heard of. Hive empowers creators to speak to their audience. Okay, that makes sense, being called Hive. Let's take a look at the comments again because I really don't want to miss anybody. Awesome. I thought I'd get your intake as you are pretty knowledgeable. Well, I appreciate you saying that. I just know as much as I've soaked up, right? And going on to the unknown is the best, buddy. Kudos. So he's hopping out. Going into the unknown is the best. Kudos. Oh, okay. I thought you were saying you were leaving. And maybe that is what you were saying. But either way, I appreciate you being here. Lindsay says, I sure appreciate it. Man, so much support, so much love. I absolutely could not be more thankful to you guys. And I look sometimes at Crypto Lifers page, especially when I was new to it. I've been watching it for years. And there were people who had been there, kind of from his day one. And he always had so much admiration and respect for them for sticking around and being a part of it. A lot of them are, elite traders in his Discord, if you're in his paid Discord, which I highly encourage to anybody. I love the paid Discord. although I don't get to sit in the 99 as much as I would like to and chat with everybody. So, Blue says, I was referring to you deciding to do a YouTube channel. Got it. All right. Yeah, I follow now. Yeah, man, it was, it started, I was just spending way too much time deep diving and researching, and I was like, really wanted people to share, because you're deep diving and researching, you're coming up with ideas, and you're finding different coins and stuff, and you're just like, man, I need to talk to somebody about this and make sure that like what I'm thinking is well thought out and not crazy before I dump a bunch of money in it, right? And then on top of it, spending a lot of time, I was like, wow, I would really like to build something out of all this time that I'm spending and not just do it by myself. Because honestly, I'm kind of one of those people, and I guess you just have to take my word for it, where I really love to see everybody around me win. And I hate to do all this research, maybe hit it really big and sail off in the sunset, but leave behind all of my people, you know, in my real physical life behind, because I just didn't have the courage to talk to them about it. So I'm constantly talking to people about it. And then I realized I should share it with way more people, because there's people out here who probably know way more than me. And they're at some point, if they're not already here, going to come in and they're going to just fill us with so much information. And then we'll have a community where people kind of niche out. You know, maybe I encourage you to deep dive and get into a certain type of sector. Like, for example, Watchmen, talking a lot about this MYX. If this narrative continues to have a bunch of projects, I guess they're products, pumping, well, maybe he'll go on a tangent and he'll figure out a bunch of these projects and he'll bring it back to the group for us, and we'll all benefit from the time and energy that he put into researching and deep diving. Now, you quantify that by 10, 15, 20, 30 dedicated people, and like, we have a powerhouse where like we're really not missing anything that's going on in crypto, and that will mean we will probably catch some great projects, aka make money. All right, so let's see, bro, nobody is doing what you're doing. That's another reason why I started the channel, is because I'll be honest, I would have loved to go to a different channel, somebody who was already doing this, probably with a bunch of money and a bunch of production, and they would just feed it to me on a silver spoon, and I wouldn't have to get my hands dirty and really do any of this. One, what's the fun in that? And two, you know, you're not going to be as high crypto IQ doing it that way versus doing it all organically yourself. So that is another reason why I had to do it. So Lindsay Lynn says, gold, gems, treasures, you are sharing your found wealth. That is very commendable. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Where is everybody from? Blue Sky says Alberta here. Okay. Let's see, I'm American, so my geography has to be terrible. Alberta is in Canada, right? Am I correct on that? I'm walking out on a limb. I could look totally stupid. You'd be like, no, it's in Europe. But no, I'm pretty sure it's in Canada. Pennsylvania, U.S. here, says Lindsay Lynn. Pennsylvania, very nice place. Haven't been there in a long time. Your big heart will go a long way. Well, thank you. Hopium says Oregon. I'm down in Florida, same place as the lifer. I'm like hesitated, like maybe I shouldn't say where he says it all the time, so I don't think it's a big deal. Anyways, we got movement. Movement is another layer 2. And another thing with this channel, I really wanted it to be very organic and like, you know, we'll stay focused and we'll talk about the chat and we'll go over things that people put in. It's just got to be, you know, casual. It's got to be somewhat focused that we're really raising our crypto IQ and we're not just, you know, not doing any crypto related stuff, but really want it to be very much like a hangout where we can kind of really all feed off of each other. Anyways, Ethereum contract address, it's a layer 2. It's called movement. It's on Ethereum. Notice a trend that a lot of these are on Ethereum. Zero knowledge, made in the US, World Liberty, finance portfolio. So Move is not a project I'm super familiar with, to be honest with you. 243 by market cap, down 82.1% on its max chart. This chart looks just like another coin we were just looking at. I'm trying to remember, what was it? All right, it's not coming to me. And that's okay. December 8th, 2024. I'm not going to remember every little single thing that we went over until we've gone over it multiple times. And that's kind of the beauty of deep diving live every day, is that I go over things multiple times and then I actually retain a lot more of it. You know, you think if you deep dive and research 1 day a week, you're going to really remember a bunch of stuff? Probably not. Oh, Lindsay says, I call this workshop style. And Craig says he's from Spring, Texas. I love that everybody is from different places. That's really awesome. I like that, workshop style. I'm actually going to write that down, Lindsay. Contributing to the channel. Of course, completely can't spell. But I like that. I'll probably use that somewhere. But it's very true. It is very workshop style. And I like that. That's the kind of environment I like. I'm not really into getting on here and trying to act like a brainiac or that I'm smarter than everybody else. You know, we're just dedicated. Dedication and seriousness and focus is worth so much more than trying to be the smartest person in the room all the time. A lot of times when you do that, there's a lot of people who are very knowledgeable and they just don't tell you stuff, you know, because they think that you're arrogant, so they don't share with you. When you come across humble, those people actually share stuff with you and you get great connections along with way more information for just being humble. So just remember, guys, humbleness is the way to go. But most of you guys already know that because you're lifers, right? But there will be times where more people come in and we'll have to share that wisdom with them. So the people's chain, this is movement. It's a layer 2. I got to reintroduce it because I spend so much time saying other things. Movement is building the ecosystem that empowers talented builders to create the future of finance through Move language. So there's a little bit of a clue there. Move is a language, probably a coding language, I would imagine. The safest and most impressive language for building the next generation of apps. Movement's infrastructure unleashes opportunities, accessibility, and financial empowerment for anyone, anywhere. I can't wait until this channel becomes monetized. Oh, my buddy's calling me. Hold on 1 second. I probably shouldn't answer live, but I'm going to. Yo, what's up, bro? I'm live streaming. Let me call you in a minute. All right, bro. All right, that's one of my really good friends. I normally would never pick up, but he's like a brother to me, so I definitely didn't want to leave him hanging. Anyways, it's a language model that they use for building stuff. Oh, what I was going to say is I can't wait until this channel becomes monetized, and that'll free me up to do it a little bit more. Because like I have said, I do run multiple other businesses, even though I've been scaling down some of my other businesses so that I can focus on this. But it would be awesome to build some different things and have some different projects going in the Discord. Maybe other people will be doing stuff as well, because being a developer, coding can be really difficult. But when they build really awesome toolkits, which is like somebody's already coded, you know, an infrastructure that you can use to go build, so it kind of takes the whole coding out of it. Then you could do a lot of different things, and that would be really cool to also do. Mining is another thing that I would love to do a little bit more with and deep dive into. So there is just so many things for us to get into and unpack that I hope you look forward to all of the different things that we're going to get into here. So our network movement is the layer 1 blockchain built using Move VM usually meaning virtual machine. So Move Virtual Machine, designed to provide developers with a powerful, efficient, scalable, and secure platform for creating the next generation of apps. Explore the ecosystem. I love when you go to a project and they actually have an ecosystem, right? This is awesome that they have things on here that we could make even a more, what's the right word? More calibrated, more niched in, deep dive research on, right? Because if movement does well, and this is something for, you know, investing purposes, it's just an idea. I'm not telling you what to do. If you see something like movement do well and you missed it, you didn't get in on it, you go find the top 1 or 2 different things in its smaller ecosystem, and they're going to most likely pop. Here's a good example, Caspa, and now it's coming back to me. I have done a whole deep dive on Caspa, because you have KRC20s, like an ERC20, and those are different things launched smart contract, you know, launched with smart contracts on the actual blockchain that is Caspa, that is Ethereum, and they give them the term like ERC20s, KRC20s would be for Caspa. But if Caspa starts really popping at some point and you never got a chance to buy Caspa, well, you go look at the KRC20s and you see what's the number one on there. It's going to have tons of room to grow, I'm sure, if the main chain is just starting to pop off. And then those are some good places to look. And you can do that for pretty much any blockchain. So Watchman says, I've been here just on the road right now. I appreciate you letting us know that you're still with us. How much farther shall we go? I'm probably going to hop off for the night, guys. We've already been over 2 hours. I'm hyped up. I honestly could keep going, but I have quite a bit of other responsibilities that I know I need to take care of. So I really appreciate everybody who's been here. In case you haven't, show some love and hit the like button. Yes, greatly appreciate that. And subscribe if for some reason you haven't subscribed yet. We're doing this Monday through Friday. I'm sure that will expand. I think that we will also be doing it at least one of the weekend days, either Saturday or Sunday. So if you want to know about what I'm going to call the bonus lives that we do, definitely be in the Discord. Don't sleep on the Discord. And in the Discord, I really want to hear about what got you into crypto, what you're most optimistic on now, maybe what's the most that you have in your portfolio. I really want to hear about what you're most focused on. Is it metaverse? Is it GameFi? Is it something else? Is it AI? Is it AI agents? Are you all about Cookie DAO? So I really want to hear those type of things. It really helps me paint a picture, not only of where we need to be with the deep dive into research that's most relevant to the people who are watching, but also it really helps me just kind of get to know you and, know what we have in common, what we have similar. Take some rest. See you in the AM. All right, guys. Yeah, I am going to hop off. I appreciate and love everybody who has hopped on for sure. You guys are the best. And also, I'll see you in the morning on the Crypto Lifer stream. And if for some reason anybody's in here who's not usually watching the Crypto Lifer stream, 10:15 New York time, Crypto Lifer stream. It's another great way to raise your crypto IQ. All right, guys. I'm always on the wrong thing. And I say this every day. I really need like a catchy goodbye. Stay underground, stay crypto, stay deep diving and research, and have a great night.